Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is Cody. Unfortunately, today I am not joined by my co-host, James. James is a little under the weather. Not sure if it's COVID or not, but we are keeping him in our thoughts right now. He's not bad. He does need to get tested, though, just to make sure. So unfortunately, it is a solo party today. James has done this before and recorded by himself, but I have not yet. So welcome. I hope you guys are excited to talk some Steelers football. But first, as always, we are going to talk Steelers by the Lake stats and review and stuff. So obviously it's a new month. It's a new year. So we're going to go over both last month, December's review, as well as 2021's review. So last month specifically, we're going to start out with the month of December. Top two places worldwide. Only United States number one, obviously. And then Spain was number two. So just those two downloads, or not downloads, but just those two places. As far as the U.S. is concerned, though, top five, as always, Pennsylvania number one. Again, no surprise there. Ohio falling in at number two. Minnesota, a close third place. And then we had California and Florida, again, back up there in the top five. So thank you to everyone from those states and even the other states that downloaded, but those were the top five for December. Now, if we take a second to look at the last year in review. So 2021 review, the top places in the world download, top five. And there was almost a tie for fifth, but the top five was the United States, obviously being at number one. I'd be shocked and confused if it wasn't. Canada at number two, the UK at number three, Germany at number four, and Spain coming in at number five. So again, we can't thank you guys all over the world enough. And we appreciate the downloads, the comments, the likes, whatever you guys send us. We appreciate everything. And then as far as the United States, the states, top five states for the year of 2021. And we do not, I was double checking, we do not have a tie for fifth place. So number one, Pennsylvania. No surprise, Pittsburgh Steelers, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Just makes sense. Number two was Ohio. Close neighbors to us, again, where Ben Roethlisberger, who we're going to talk about a little bit today, where Ben Roethlisberger is from. And then California is number three, North Carolina number four, and Florida coming in at number five. So gotta love that, Florida being on there, North Carolina, again, California, Ohio, Pennsylvania, backwards through those top five. So thank you guys again so much. James and I both appreciate it more and more than you know. So again, thank you. And we look forward to crushing 2022, having more states than ever. Maybe someone knocks Pennsylvania off number one. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. So talking off and switching over to Steelers news, we have before the game, Friday, Joe Schobert and Chris Wormley, as well as the defensive lineman Daniel Archibong, were added to the COVID list. Very unfortunate to see that. And then you also had some news come out on Saturday that Steelers did activate Isaiah Buggs from the COVID list, and as well as safety Carl Joseph, both came back to the practice squad from the COVID list, or restored, Isaiah Buggs back to the active roster, and then restored safety Carl Joseph to the practice squad. And then they also signed a middle linebacker that you might recognize the name of. Middle linebacker Tigre Scales from the Bengals practice squad to R53. Now, he more than likely has to remain on he does have to remain on the active squad for the rest of the season, because you can't just sign a player off of another team's practice squad just to throw them on your practice squad. They have to be on the active roster for what I believe is 3 weeks. Which will push him at least to the end of the regular season, if not playoffs, if we make it to the playoffs, which we'll find out this this weekend, what happens. So the inactives before the game were Buddy Johnson, Dwayne Haskins, Presley Harvin III, as he's still mourning the loss of his father. Again, James and I both don't expect him to come back and play. And then you had Isaiah Buggs also on the inactive list. As far as game recap goes, because that's about it leading up to the game. There wasn't a whole lot more that happened prior to kickoff on Monday night. It was a Monday night game in Pittsburgh. Obviously, this was potentially Ben's last game in Pittsburgh, barring a playoff push that might or might not happen, or barring something else happen where he comes back to Pittsburgh next year. Who knows? Or goes somewhere else. I don't see that happening, but who knows what could happen if he decides to hang up the cleats, or if something crazy happens and he decides to give it another run, go another year and see if he can't make a late playoff push in his career. So again, we always start off with the quarterback first. We're talking about Ben Roethlisberger, our quarterback for 18 years, the longest anyone's ever played for a single team. And Ben has just done so much for this team as far as leading us to Super Bowls. He's led us to 3 Super Bowls, 2 victories. He's one of only 3 quarterbacks to win two Super Bowls and throw for, I believe, 60 or 65,000 yards. One of the stats they had up on the game. I do have some notes from James just to make sure that his opinion is still shared. He had to talk about Ben. He said Ben was accurate, mostly short passes. Ton of drops by wide receivers and lack of effort when the ball was thrown their way. Deontay Johnson especially. Didn't see open Gentry in the end zone, which unfortunately led to a field goal. And then he finished his career at home with a kneel down, which was very awesome. Again, I thought Ben played phenomenal. For what it's worth, Ben made great passes here and there. He did miss Gentry in the end zone. I have to agree with James on that. But a couple of receivers, I mean, Deontay Johnson, even Chase Claypool had opportunities to bring down some deep balls and just didn't do it. Deontay Johnson had a couple times where there was just almost no effort, it felt like, to try and make a catch on a ball or make a play on a ball that Ben threw. And it was really sad to see, especially in his last home game. But again, overall, the offense got the job done through a crap ton of field goals. Unfortunately, I don't even want to talk stats when it comes to Ben. Ben did not have the best stats as far as Steelers quarterback goes. I think he threw for 46 plus times. It might have been only 46, but only like 150 yards or something like that. It wasn't anything super impressive. It wasn't anything super crazy. The biggest concern that I had, again, one of the biggest concerns, I should say, going into this game was, will they fumble the ball? Will the Browns defense cause turnovers? What's going to happen there? There were some things that definitely were a concern for me that thankfully just didn't happen, which was really, really a plus for us. Other than that, moving on to the running backs. So let's go running backs next. I was thoroughly impressed with the performance of, and not to switch positions on us, but thoroughly impressed with our offensive line and their ability to block for Najee. Najee Harris had probably the most running room he has had all year by far in this game, and that a lot of that was credited to the offensive line, and even recently credited to the new head offensive line coach. It's ironic that happened at the time that we switched coaches, and it kind of is what it is. But as far as stats is concerned, Najee put up decent stats. I mean, Najee had total carries specifically 28 for 188 yards. That is phenomenal, and 1 touchdown. That's a 6.7 average. The majority of the year, he's probably been averaging 3 or less. Like, it was a night and day, especially against their defense. Wasn't a pushover by any means. We talked about a couple injuries and stuff prior, but I don't think anyone necessarily was out that would have been cause for that lapse of just run stoppability on their part. I don't know. And James had to say Najee's best game of the season by far. Broke Franco Harris's rookie rushing record, which was huge, rushing yards for Pittsburgh. And he did it technically in 17 games, which was nice to see. He didn't need an 18th game to do that. But again, with how rough it's been of a year, it shows how much they've been using him. Like, they've been giving him the ball a lot. And James went on to say no hesitation and ran very hard. Absolutely. I mean, even on the late touchdown, apparently he was supposed to go down there. Makes sense. Then you kneel it a couple times. And that was the thing that I think some people were worried about was Najee scored, but then Ben's going to end the game on the sideline. And it was kind of like a sad moment, but also happy because he won. But huge shout out to frickin' Trey Norwood, who got the interception later on in the game to seal the deal and let Ben come out and make one last kneel down. Very huge for him there. Again, Najee, 28 carries, 180 yards, just phenomenal. 3 receptions for 18 yards as well. Najee played really, really well. Even had fullback usage. Derek Watt, when he was on offense, was successful with him on the field. He did get his first carry in 2 years and got us a first down. That's huge. That was absolutely huge. I thought Derek Watt played well, even on kick coverage. There was one time where he came in and lit a guy up. He might have already been tackled or pretty close to it, but he came in with effort, which is what you'd expect to see out of a Watt brother, especially. Tight end room, unfortunately, didn't see a whole lot of Pat Freiermuth. Kevin Radar splashed on special teams with multiple tackles. Pat and both Zach Gentry were good, but not great. Didn't see a whole lot from them. That was more of James' notes for the game. I think the one pass I remember seeing to Zach Gentry was to the line of scrimmage, and he might have fallen, I don't know, a yard or two. Potentially he might have fallen that. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot that happened from the tight end room. Again, we talked about offensive line a little bit. Probably by far the best performance that our offensive line has had. And that's putting it politely. Like they dominated for the most part. Ben still threw the ball very quickly, but I don't think it was much as because of pressure compared to as much as it was scheming and game planning and trying to get passes out quick. It was much less because of pressure than it had been in other games. You obviously had Hassenauer coming in at center. Dan Moore probably played his best game by far, and he outplayed also a fellow 4th-round rookie on the Browns, who got destroyed by freaking TJ Watt. Right tackle James Hudson had a better game, or excuse me, the James Hudson for the Browns is the player that he went up against. He had a better game, I think, in the first game matchup with us, but this game, if he was even playing, I honestly don't even remember. I'd have to look that up, but he had a better game against Miles than last time. Just things to look at. Like Dan Moore played very, very well against Myles Garrett compared to the 4th-round draft pick that the Browns had, who did not play very, very well against TJ Watt, to say the least. Again, Steelers defense, before we get there, had 9 sacks on the game. The current record is 14, but I'm not sure how accurate that is because it was before sacks were technically counted. I don't know if they went back and did the stats or looked it up, but the current normal time, or like since sacks have been recorded, is the Giants with 12. So we were 3 short of that, and that was, I believe, just back in 2017. No, 2007. One of those two. I looked that up during the game just out of curiosity. John LeGlue, the left guard, good game. Wouldn't know he was 5th string is what James put down as his notes. John LeGlue, and that's the thing that we talked about last week. James and I were very, very curious to see if with the new head assistant or head offensive line coach, if they'd play some different players at different positions and how they'd play and this and that. And John LeGlue came in and again was part of that offense and that front 5 that opened up holes for Najee, blocked downfield for Najee, didn't let Ben get completely destroyed time and time again. It was a phenomenal gameplay, I thought, all around by our offensive lineman. Center J.C. Hassenauer, James put fantastic. He pushed the pile all night. Possible viable shorter for next year, or starter for next year. We'll see what happens. I think that if Kendrick Green doesn't improve, and again, I saw the picture with Creed Humphrey and those guys together, that rookie class or those offensive linemen. Kendrick Green is much smaller than them. Kendrick Green is a very, very small center in comparison to the other guys that have longer arms, bigger bodies. I don't think he necessarily gets bullied all the time, but I think that shortness is playing against him in his career right now. The right guard, Trey Turner, solid game. He was injured, I'm guessing a knee injury is what they said, and he didn't finish the game. And then you also had right tackle Chuk Okorafor. He struggled against Clowney. and speed pass moves. But other than that, he was good on the run. He did very good run blocking. And again, overall, the entire offensive line run blocked very well. Ran block, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. The team performed up to the standards of what you'd expect out of starters, whether they're backups or not. They played like an actual offensive line for probably the first time all season, consistently, and it showed in the ability to put up some points, even if they were mostly field goals. But Najee's 188 yards is, again, phenomenal. I wish he would have broke 200. It would have been nice to see him do that in his rookie year. But Najee Harris did play very, very well. On defensive side of the ball, starting with the defensive line, Cam Hayward. James calls him Sir Swats a lot. He had an awesome game. Awesome game. The entire defense, it felt like, was getting swats at the line of scrimmage. They were playing very, very well. TJ Watt had plenty of words to say to Baker Mayfield after stuffing one of the pass attempts and almost causing a turnover. If someone gets under that ball, that's a turnover. Any of those swats, to be exact, that those guys were trying to make plays, and they were. And it was nice to see. Isaiah Loudermilk had a nice game. He looked the part, and potentially a starter. We'll have to wait and see. It was very nice to see him being able to perform at a higher level than what we've been able to see him perform at. And it's promising for the future. If he can put on some muscle mass and be able to push some more guys around, there's a lot of upside to Isaiah Loudermilk in the future with this Steelers team. Montravius Adams, great penetration. He blew up multiple plays. Even some plays that got to the outside, he ran over and made plays, made hits, made tackles. It was very nice to see that happen with Adams. And I think that we could potentially see him starting next year unless something crazy happens. Or not even, let me clarify, he's starting now, but see him as the starter continuing into next year at the nose tackle position. He plays the job very, very well. Henry Mondeau, redemption game, best as a pass rusher, James wrote down. I thought Henry Mondeau played his freaking heart out for that game. And you didn't see it often because it's hard to tell when a player like that's giving all their effort because you're not looking for them. But us, especially James, being a Mondeau fanatic, is the best way that I can put it. To be fair, you see a lot of growth, you see a lot of effort out of him, and it was very nice to see that happen. TJ Watt, all-world talent is what James had to say. Give him Defensive Player of the Year now. Listen, if he goes on to break the record set by Michael Strahan, he only needs, I believe, either a sack and a half to break it or 2 sacks. I believe it's a sack and a half to break the record. He's at 21 and a half, and I think the record's 22 and a half. We play the Ravens this week. It could happen. And if he breaks that, Defensive Player of the Year easy. Pittsburgh is leading the NFL with most all-time Defensive Player of the Year awards to our defense. James Harrison got it. Troy Polamalu. Those were the guys from my age. You also had Mean Joe Green. If I remember, Rod Woodson, I believe, probably got it once. Just crazy to see the number of guys that have come along and won Defensive Player of the Year. And if I'm not mistaken, both of the last 2 years that we won, that a player on our defense won Defensive Player of the Year, we made it to the Super Bowl. I just don't think the one year we won the game. I think the year that James Harrison won Defensive Player of the Year, we lost to Green Bay in the Super Bowl. So hopefully history can repeat itself in some manner. Maybe when Troy Polamalu won it and we beat the Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl. So we'll have to wait and see what happens for sure. But TJ, again, phenomenal gameplay from him. 4 sacks on the game, was just wreaking havoc. And Baker Mayfield, even after the game, had some things to say about it. He felt that it was unfair that their offensive coordinator, whoever, I don't think he called them out specifically, but he said they should have done something to help him with TJ Watt, which I think they tried here and there, but you also have to use players to go out and try to make plays. It's just kind of how it is. The tight ends need to go out and try to catch the ball. The running backs need to go out and try to catch the ball, depending on the play call. So, but fun to see that we messed them up enough that they had to start talking some trash. And part of me, again, we talked about this the one time of people calling people out. Part of me is like, oh, Baker, you shouldn't have done that. And part of me is like, Baker's trying to lead his team and he's pointing out when there's an issue. It's such a hit or miss of which way you go. I go both ways. I like the fact that he did it. And it could also cause problems. Who knows? If it causes problems for them, great. We will take that all day as Steelers fans. Even Alex Highsmith got involved. Nice game for Alex Highsmith. He played against the first round left tackle. And he had a late push on his season numbers based on what he did. And James said that, the first round talent thing, that's proof that Alex Highsmith has the potential. That's proof that Alex Highsmith can do this at a high level. So exciting to see him make a push to maybe put up a nice season total on the year for sacks, for tackles, for quarter QB hits, for all the numbers that he needs for Pro Bowls moving down the line. Why not start now? Get a fresh start, or a head start on next year, and go into the offseason with some motivation and momentum. I should call it, not motivation. He should be motivated. I hope he's motivated every week. Even Derek Tuska, the guy that we signed this year, got another sack. He got another sack. Roster spot available for him next year, ? Is what James put down in his notes. It was very nice to get some pass rush out of a backup offensive or outside linebacker. We've talked about that a lot. Where's the pass rush going to come from when TJ Watt's not on the field? When Alex Highsmith's not on the field? When Cam Hayward's not on the field? Where's the pass rush going to come from? James and I talk about it all the time. Guess what? Derek frickin' Tuska. Yes, Tuska. Frickin' signed him from Denver's practice squad. Great pickup this year. Absolutely great pickup. Middle linebackers. I personally loved seeing Robert Spillane back out there. Loved it. He had a great play against the run. He had all game long. He hard hitter. He made big hits multiple times. Marcus Allen in there was so again, Devin Bush was out and Joe Schobert was out. So both of our starting inside linebackers, I give the air quotes, were out for this game. But Robert Spillane, who started a large portion of last year after Devin Bush went out and with Vince Williams, and then Marcus Allen, the hybrid safety, whatever you want to call him, both came in and played fairly well. Marcus Allen gave good effort. I saw that. James saw that. We are able to see that. You want to see some more. I don't know if you want him to bulk up more or what you want out of him, but you can tell he's still more of a safety type body. So I'll have to wait and see what happens there. For sure. UG3 looked good even when he got in. He came in here and there. We expected that. You have to give your guys a rest sometime, for sure. This cornerback room, Ahkello Witherspoon, another pick for him. Please bring him back next year. It took him a while to get on the field, but now he is playing well. With Joe Hayden more than likely gone, Cam Sutton not performing what we'd like to see out of him so far, James Pierre not doing what we thought we were going to get out of him when people hyped him up, even Justin Lane, not so much. Even the notes for this game, James put Cam Sutton and Joe Hayden fine. They played fine. But they weren't spectacular. We need those playmaking corners, and Ahkello Witherspoon appears to be the guy. And I don't know who else it would be next year because didn't see a whole lot out of anybody else. I mean, Trey Norwood, sure, the last second pick, the tip ball. It's a great play, but is he going to do that in a starting role? Is he going to do that consistently? We saw bits and pieces of it throughout the year. I want to see it more consistently. Minka and Terrell Edmonds, the safeties, both had good games. Nothing spectacular that I can remember or recall. Nothing that James put down in his notes. They both played fairly well. Minka, again, trying to be the playmaker. I'd like to see more. I don't know, not more big plays out of him, but more consistent, like good plays out of him. Like more consistent pass breakups, more consistent run stuffs if a run gets through a gap. Not that we're not seeing it out of him, and not that that's his role. Like Terrell Edmonds is definitely the strong safety and more of the big hitter. But I want to see Minka. Everyone knows my opinion on Terrell. I don't think we should keep Terrell for next year. But at the same time, I don't know who else you'd have unless you draft somebody. But with other needs, probably being bigger than strong safety, I think maybe you do keep Terrell. I don't know, and see if he can go into a fifth year and perform better. We'll have to see what happens. Boz, if we go on the special teams, Boz for president, won the game for us easy. If you think about all the field goals we got, that was literally the difference. When you go back and look at the score, 14-26, he had a field goal in the second, a field goal in the third, and 2 field goals in the fourth. He was 4 for 4 on the day. He played very, very well. 2 for 2 on extra points. A 50-yarder was his long for the day. So great to see Boz getting back into the rhythm. He had a couple misses here and there this year. Punter. The punter Whitman. Holy cow. Or Waitman. Waitman was his name. I didn't think that the guy they'd signed to just fill in for Presley Harvin while he mourns the passing of his father was going to have such an impact. But a 48.8 average. He had consistently nice punts. He performed very, very well as someone who came in, and he's technically putting on some film. I don't think he's going to take the role from Presley Harvin. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Mike Tomlin and the special teams guys are committed to Presley Harvin. They drafted him in the 7th. I mean, that's pretty committed. But who knows? Maybe you trade a punter. Who knows? If he's got value, if someone needs a punter bad enough, they'll trade a 7th round pick. I mean, you never know. Or a future 6th. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what happens with that, but great punts out of him for sure. Post-game news. Again, I don't know. Let's take a moment here before I go into post-game news. Ben's last game at home in Heinz Field. I know people that went. I saw so many people that actually went and got to be at the game and a part of it. And I even had a friend from college, her and her boyfriend got to go. It was her first ever football game, her first ever game at Heinz Field. And she got to go. She had a sign that she took with her that said, "My dad thinks I can't get on TV. Prove him wrong." I don't think they did, unfortunately, because I was looking once I found out she was there, and I never saw her. Definitely never saw the sign. You could notice the sign. And we'll post some pictures of her and her boyfriend and explain the experience that they had after we're done recording and posting, or I'm done recording and posting again. Unfortunate that James couldn't be here, but just very, very cool to see somebody get that moment. Like, she got to witness history in her first game. She got to witness Ben tying Brett Favre for third most wins in a single stadium or a single venue. I believe the only 2 that were higher than, it might have been 3. Peyton might have been on that list too. I can't remember exactly, but I know that Tom Brady was on there and Dan Marino, if I'm not mistaken, were both on there. And Tom Brady obviously being number 1 with Gillette Stadium, the most wins there. Just crazy to see. And then she also got to witness Najee break the rookie rushing yardage for Pittsburgh. Not for any rookie, but for Pittsburgh specifically, which is still really cool. So yeah, players or people, fans, whoever was at that game, they witnessed history on a lot of levels. And Ben was very emotional after the game, and as he should be. He got to go out kneeling the ball again. Pittsburgh tried to call a timeout. That was funny, but it didn't happen after players started going on the field and everyone started congratulating him and hugging him and everything else. Very cool to see that. It's not often you see that as a fan of a player who stayed with one team, especially at a quarterback position, but stayed with the one team the entire career and led them to 2 Super Bowl wins, 3 appearances. Like, the history here was very, very cool to watch and very, very cool to witness. And it's going to be cool looking back on this in a couple years. When Ben retires, when he goes into he's easily a first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt about that in, I think, anyone's mind. So we'll be excited for that. Maybe James and I together will go to that Hall of Fame enshrinement and be a part of that. Who knows what we'll do then. Maybe we'll meet up with some of you guys there. So really, really cool to see, and congratulations to Ben on a career well played. And if he doesn't come back, he's going out a high note. Win or lose next week, he's going out on a high note for sure. Post game news Tuesday. The team did restore wide receiver Anthony Miller, and Steven Sims and Tyler Vaughns. All those wide receivers were back from the COVID list, back to the practice squad. They then also released punter Cameron Nikolek and kicker Sam Sloman from the practice squad. And then practice squad member Jacob, I'm going to murder this name, Jacob Tuoti Marner was poached by the Panthers. So we'll have to see what happens with, well, there's no seeing what happens with that. We're not getting him back, at least not this year. And then so that was all the news on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, today, Cam Hayward did win Chief Award for Steelers, which was best with the media. No surprise there. Najee Harris wins Joe Green Award, which is the Steelers Rookie of the Year. I don't disagree with that. I think there could have been some voting or saying that Pat Freiermuth was also deserving of that. He led all rookie tight ends in touchdowns this year, at least up to this point. But both those rookies had phenomenal years this year. You couldn't ask for really much more out of either of them, especially Najee with the way the offensive line was. But Pat Freiermuth came in and very quickly took over for Eric Ebron, Mr. Stonehands himself. Again, Eric Ebron played better later in the year, but once he went down with the injury, that was kind of it. You also had Steelers that, or you also had the fact that the Steelers activated guard off of the COVID list, Zach Banner. They also activated, or six off of the COVID list. Zach Banner, Devin Bush is off the COVID list. Arthur Maulet, Anthony McFarland, Joe Schobert, and Chris Wormley. But unfortunately, they did have to place Joe Hayden on that COVID list today as well. So those were all 6 off the list, and then 1 on with Joe Hayden. But a lot of things happening with Pittsburgh, and I'm super excited to see what happens next week as we play the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Big game. Big game. It sucks that we need to rely on a Jacksonville Jaguars win against the Colts to have a potential chance of getting in. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope it happens. Again, with that being said, the Indianapolis Colts are playing in Jacksonville, and they haven't beaten Jacksonville since like 2014, which is a weird stat, but who knows what could happen with that game. So keep an eye on that. Trevor Lawrence, rooting for you this week, baby. Super excited to see TJ Watt potentially break the all-time sack record set by Michael Strahan. Just very, very, very excited to see what can happen this year and how this year can end out. There's a lot of potential still. Playoffs are not out of the question yet, so keep a look on that. James and I will be attempting to record as long as he is feeling up to it later on this week. The whole looking ahead show as we look ahead to the Baltimore Ravens, give you some last second injury reports and last second updates on maybe some stats and stuff like that. So again, we can't thank you guys enough. I know that I speak for James and I both, just about the support that we get. We can't say enough thank yous to people in our lives and you listening right now, for sure. So thank you so much. We did get another 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. I'm going to let James talk about that more next week, or on the next episode, because I know he's going to be excited for it. And that's his thing. He loves when you guys send those in and talk about us, and it just makes him happy. So again, we can't thank you guys enough. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. If you're watching this now, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. We look forward to next episode. Peace.